You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Thechrisvossshow.com. We hit the wrong button there. That was what we were looking for there. The Iron Lady singing the theme to the intro, but it's an order thing. It doesn't matter which way you do it and all that good stuff. So welcome to the Chris Voss Show, folks. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We couldn't do it without you. You guys are part of an elite family that isn't a cult. I know when I use words like elite, it makes it sound like, he's going to make it a multi-marketing thing. We're all going to have to pay like 10% of... No, it's not like that. We're the family that loves you but doesn't judge you. How many families can you think of that love you and don't judge you? Well, that's probably all of them. So we're the one family that doesn't, the Chris Voss Show family. So always know you're a part of a family. You're never alone, and you're listening to some of the most amazing minds that come across: the CEOs, the billionaires, the White House advisors, the governors, the Congress members, the U.S. ambassadors, the astronauts, the Pulitzer Prize journalists, the authors that have sat down and they have poured their heart, soul, blood into a lifetime of work. Some tens of thousands of hours researching and studying, and they bring you this distilled, beautiful essence, what we like to call the Chris Voss Show glow, or essence, as it were. And we need to make a coffee, call that, damn it. Get that going on the merch side. Chris Voss Show Glow Coffee. It's from Chernobyl. So anyway, we bring it to you guys, and you guys get to bask in it and join this elite crowd of our audience. And we really appreciate it. Gosh darn it. But there's one thing I need from you, and I don't ask much. It's been 15 years. Do I ever ask much from you folks? Just show up, listen to the show, enjoy, laugh, cry, learn some things, change your life. But please refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, the big 130,000 LinkedIn group, and the newsletter. You got to subscribe to the newsletter. That thing grows like a weed. It's crazy, man. And Chris Voss one on TikTok, Chris Voss, Facebook.com. We have an amazing multi-book author, and she's got her newest book out we'll be talking about today, and her series and everything that's so darn inspiring. Her new book that she has out we'll be talking about is Putney Hicks, Inventor Adventures, and the Putney Hicks character. And I believe there's a newest book that we have out, and Marcia, tell us what the newest book title is.
Well, the newest book actually came out last year. That's the Sea Turtle Spy Project. And in that one, so basically Putney Hicks is this 12-year-old girl who wants to be an inventor, but she doesn't know how. And she's trying to figure out who she is and how she can reach her goals and her dreams. And she's transplanted to a new school. So we go with her on different adventures from book to book. And then in the fourth book, I wanted to do a sea turtles theme. And I'm an engineer, problem solver, turned award-winning author to inspire kids in STEM. But for the fourth book, I actually invented a nest screen, collaborating with Amber Kuhn, Sea Turtle Patrol Hilton Head Island, that is saving baby sea turtle hatchlings from becoming misoriented from artificial lights behind the nest.
Oh, wow.
So I actually solved a real problem. That's part of the plot for book 4.
There you go. And so there's 4 books in the series and a 5th prequel, to my understanding.
The 5th is the short story prequel, which you can get by signing up for my newsletter. And it tells the backstory of Sam. So the first 3 books, we just see Sam as this magical interface on this tablet, this computer tablet that defies normal capabilities. And she takes this holographic appearance, kind of like Princess Leia in the first Star Wars movie, but in green leggings. So it's a cross between Peter Pan and Princess Leia. And she's not telling Putney who or what she is, really. Putney has to guess. And then in the backstory, we find out, okay, she's really advanced artificial intelligence. And we still don't have the full story on the tablet. So she's kind of hiding in plain sight. But, so if you kind of think of I Dream of Jeannie meets Man from U.N.C.L.E., there's this kind of character that everybody wants to find out about. And Putney's got to protect her secret. And Putney doesn't even know all of her secrets. So
there you go. And what age range is Putney?
Putney is 12, so she's in 7th grade, and she's moved from Kodiak, Alaska, to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So couldn't be more different. And the people she's going to school with couldn't be more different.
So you are an award-winning author and engineer, and you've been on a mission to empower girls in STEM, science, technology,
engineering, and math.
There you go. Clearly, I flunked all those in 2nd grade and been flunking them ever since. And you use experiences from snorkeling sea turtles to teaching her dogs new tricks. You inspire the readers through the Putney Hicks Inventor adventure series. It's kind of like the Nancy Drew, as it's billed, for the STEM age. I like this, because there's enough books about mystery solving and stuff like that. And so you help bring fun and fascination to and science to life and all that good stuff. That's pretty amazing because, like I said, there's always these books about, I don't know, vampire teenagers and books about solving mystery. There was all those mystery series, but I like this. It makes it fun for young women to be interested in STEM,
and hopefully to help them see how amazing they are. And that they don't have to be like their older brother or the kid down the street that tinkers on bicycles. There's not just one stereotype of hobby that you have to be successful in STEM. However, I really passionately believe that your hobbies, no matter what they are, can be the secret to unlocking your problem-solving potential, which can set you up for success no matter what career you go into. Because let's face it, I'm targeting middle grade kids, and that's a little bit early to commit to a career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on what country you're in. Some countries, that's the coal miner right there.
But so what I'm really trying to do is get them to see themselves as problem solvers and teach some skills that, things that I learned from working at GE for 35 years. In the aircraft engine industry, it's like, okay, I learned rapid prototyping. I learned optimization. As an engineer, I've gotten math all the way up through partial differential equations, and I even use algebra in my hobbies. But one of the main barriers to success in STEM, boys and girls, has been lack of confidence in math skills.
Oh, wow.
And I tackled that in book 2, because we had this amazing Christmas event that I organized. Our budget kept getting cut at the end of the year, so we had our Christmas party in February. And I got permission. Our whole group could take Friday afternoon off, and I got permission to use the pool at the fitness center, and we had a cardboard boat regatta. So we had an hour to design our boats, an hour to build them, and then we had an hour to race them and test them in the pool. And I got so hooked on that. Of course, engineer geeks is like, okay, you can use a little simple formula to predict buoyancy and size your boat. And we guys were talking about battle boats, and it's like, okay, how do I do an unsinkable boat? And I came up with this kind of cardboard raft design. So I did all the water displacement, in a raft. And we won every race. We were unsinkable. The other boats forgot to waterproof the inside sometimes. They eventually sink. One boat forgot to put the duct tape around the plastic tablecloths on the outside, so they were dragging. But I got so hooked on that, I had to make another version to take to Hilton Head to take my dog surfing in the ocean. And and then that was so heavy. I made an over-designed tank. I had to design a beach cart to haul it to the beach with. And then I came up with this ultralight, fabric shell, marine grade fabric shell, and foam insulation core that did the displacement thing. And I have 2 versions, so I still take my dogs surfing in the ocean in Hilton Head on that and have a blast. But I've also volunteered with Girl Scouts of Western Ohio and GE Volunteers. And so since 2015, I've been involved with the after school activity, and then we did STEM summer camp beginning with 2016. So I've been designing experiments each year for STEM summer camp. And 2 years I've done the buoyancy experiment. And when the girls see this really gorgeous, hunky golden retriever standing on a surf boat, they just start drooling. It's like, oh, wow. And I could do, it's like when they see, it's like, here's a simple math recipe. And you can use that to size a surf boat that Harry can surf on the ocean with. And the lights come up, the light bulb goes off in their brain. I have one girl asking me, it's like, oh, so I could design a surfboard. And they start getting the idea that math is magical. It's just a tool to help you do cool things.
Yeah.
And if we can show the relevance of math, which, let's face it, most teachers have not a clue what engineers do. I mean, most people, unless you're an engineer, most people don't know what engineers do. You know what doctors, lawyers, detectives, and policemen do because you see it on TV every day.
Yeah.
But engineers, it's like, so it's like you go into algebra and there's all these word problems and it's like, oh my God, my brain hurts. I don't know how to do this. In fact, I was pretty much an A student, but I got a C in algebra. I have to tell you, I struggled with word problems.
Really?
And I tried to keep it from my parents, but when the C came home, the report card, I couldn't hide it anymore.
There you go.
And I had to do something really hard and scary for me. I had to go to my teacher and ask for help. And I actually had to go and stay after school to get the help I needed.
Oh, no.
To finally get it.
But you made the commitment.
But I didn't. Once I got it, it was fun.
Yeah.
Let's face it, doing hard stuff can be really, really addicting and fun.
Yeah, rewarding. Yeah.
I mean, nobody plays video games that are boring. If they weren't challenged, they wouldn't do it.
That's true. And there's probably a lot of math, technology, coding, gaming algorithms. There's probably so much math in a video game. It's insane.
But the key is you have to watch the words you tell yourself. So you can't say, oh, I'm crappy at math. I'm not good enough. I don't get it. You just have to say, hey, I can get this. I don't understand it yet, but if I get some help, I can do this. And you got to get in the habit of telling yourself, I can do this. Another problem we've seen with, I've participated in the Greater Cincinnati STEM Collaborative, so I've gotten to go to a conference and gotten some really great national input on how to get people more engaged in STEM and what the problems are. And one of them, not surprising, is parents' attitudes about math. You have some parents just saying, oh, I'm not good at that. I didn't need that. You don't need that. You'll never use that. So if you have parents reinforcing that math is no good, you don't need it, or you can't do it, you're too stupid to do it, then it kind of sets the kid up for failure. And what you really want to do is set them up for success and say, hey, math is really cool. And it may be hard, but it's worth sticking it out and getting it, because you're going to be able to do some amazing things with it.
There you go. And you're right. It impacts people's self-esteem too when they can't do math or algebra. Mine was severely impacted because I couldn't figure out math beyond 2 + 2. I'll admit it. But
I had a shortcut on the multiplication tables. I was like 3rd grade. I was so stressed out. I thought, oh my God, I'm supposed to memorize all this? And I thought, I can do it. But
I'll never succeed in life unless I master the multiplication scale.
But I had an older sister. So it's like, well, I'm related to her. She managed to do it. I must be capable of doing it. And it's like, if you stop telling yourself you can't do it, and you just knuckle down and work at it, that's half the battle.
There you go. That makes sense. I mean, anything that you have to master in life, it takes time. and it's part of, just the equation of what you have to do. And I think one of the things you've mentioned is the 10,000 hour rule. Tell us about that.
Okay, so there's this book by Jeff Colvin called Talent is Overrated, and he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. So it's like, if you look at Mozart's pretty well regarded as being this child musical prodigy, but Jeff posits, and he's not the only one to do this. Tiger Woods would be another example. It's like, these are kids who started at their craft at a very early age, like age 3 or whatever. And they just happened to have fathers who were in an extraordinary position to mentor them and teach them. So that, his theory is it takes about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, dedicated practice to master anything. And if you're starting at a very young age, then you're way ahead of everybody else. So he gives the examples of Mozart's early compositions weren't very different from, his peers at a comparable number of hours into their career. It's just he started so much earlier, he progressed way beyond what they were able to do.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I found is, like, I was lucky to have some training and educational skills in one of my assignments at GE, where I managed the technical education programs and worked with a couple professors at UC's Teachers College. And so the key thing there was that you're learning. I lost my train of thought there, but the motivation piece. Okay, so motivation is linked to success and learning, but the relationship goes both ways. So if you build successful experiences, you build the motivation. So if you set them up for success, they can become motivated, be successful. So that motivation is a huge chunk. And if you start with hobbies and your interests, that's the other piece. Okay, there's different types of content. There's facts, concepts, generalizations, and problem-solving skills. And problem-solving skills are generally the most difficult for teachers to teach, because let's face it, you can't lead them to a solution. They have to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
You can give them a process, but unless they're making the choices, it's like using a GPS to find a destination instead of navigating using a map and directions. It's like, okay, the GPS leads me. I don't have to think. I don't have to remember. I just have to follow the GPS. But the cool thing is, problem-solving skills are the most transferable of all content that's taught. So I can learn problem-solving skills with painting and clay and sewing and woodworking or whatever hobbies I have. If they're self-directed hobbies, I'm solving a problem. Okay, I may not be qualified to solve a problem in mechanical engineering because I may need specialized knowledge for that, but I'm learning a process for how to learn and how to solve problems. So that, okay, I can leverage all my hobbies that I was doing as a kid in elementary school. And I actually did, because when I was sophomore year in Purdue and got my first DF in physics, electricity and magnetism, it was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I had to make a choice. It was a flunk out physics course, but I had to decide. My parents were not happy with me. I had to decide if I was going to stick it out or if I was going to be a quitter and change majors. So when the rubber hit the road, it was, okay, can I do this? And it wasn't the high school physics project that won awards, including one from the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, that gave me the confidence to continue. That was one project. But when I thought about it, it was all that stuff I've been doing since I was a kid. Dreaming up projects, problem solving, figuring it out on my own. I figured, at the time I called it creative. I knew I was creative. I figured I just had to learn a new medium. With what I know now, I would say I'm a problem solver. I can figure this out. So if I take responsibility for my learning instead of giving it to the professor. Say, oh, the professor sucks. The teacher's assistant is crappy and can't speak English. The way they graded the test had me thinking that current was invented at nodes. You can make excuses. Or you can say, hey, it doesn't matter. Other people are learning this stuff. I have to take responsibility for my own learning, and I have to figure out how to learn it.
And I can learn it too. There you go. And you've pushed a lot of this data and knowledge into your book series for young adults, with the Putney Hicks series, and you've got a total of 5 books now. You've won 2023 Chrysalis Brew Project winner, Bookfest Book Award Gold Medal winner in 2023, Gertrude Warner Middle Grade Awards, and American Fiction Awards finalist in 2023.
And that's book 4.
On book 4, there you go. So let's do some honor to the rest of it. 2021 Reader's Favorite Gold Medal in book number 1. 2022 Wishing Shelf Awards. She wins a lot of awards, people. They really like this thing. The 2023 Moonbeam Book Awards Silver Medal winner. Congratulations.
And the Moonbeam Award, which just came in the mail this week, is really cool. It's almost like a time turner.
Oh, really? There you go.
Some of the awards give you medals, so that one was a really cool one.
Congratulations. But probably the big medals that you're achieving is inspiring young girls and kids to get into math and consider STEM as a possible pathway to their life. It certainly beats some of the stuff I've seen on Instagram, that's for sure.
Well, and the other thing is, so Stuart Brown wrote a book on play, and he interviewed people at Jet Propulsion Labs who found that, so in the 50s and 60s, a lot of the engineers, and it's true all over the country, you didn't necessarily have to have a college degree to be an engineer. There were a lot of non-degree engineers working. Think about it, Wright brothers, they didn't have college degrees, but they grew up working with their hands, problem solving and figuring things out. Okay, when it got into I don't know if it was the 80s or what, at one point when they were hiring new hires, they were finding that the new hires that just had these fancy college educations. Okay, I'm I'm a college graduate, bachelor's, master's, and PhD. But
that sounds pretty fancy there, Marcia.
But they found that, but I did a lot of hobbies growing up, and what they found was the new hires that didn't work with their hands, didn't have hobbies where they were working with their hands, were not as effective at solving problems. And the ones that did, they could see solutions that other people didn't. So
interesting.
Again, it's that learning that you do from working with physical objects in space and putting stuff together and figuring things out. You get a broader perspective. Almost any product, okay, we've got 3D printing now, but there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be machined. And if you have a visualization in, okay, what this turbine disc looks like, and okay, now I'm designing a feature that's going to be very hard to machine. I mean, it's possible to design stuff that you cannot physically manufacture except with 3D printing. So having practical experience with working with your hands with 3D things, woodworking, clay, even sewing, there are an awful lot of women of my generation who grew up with sewing as a hobby, and a bunch of us are quilters now. And when I think about it, there's another reason for that, because you don't learn to sew without ripping. And so thus you learn how to fail, and you learn how to do, okay, this isn't perfect, but it's functional. And I've learned something, and I can figure out how to do something better next time. So my sewing, I learned industrial engineering. I learned, workstation setup, how to keep my seam ripper and my scissors nearby, the screwdriver to change the needle on the sewing machine. I learned project management, how long it was going to take to make something, what the best order of sequence of operations was to be efficient. I learned how to, kind of have my checklist so that I didn't put the zipper in backwards or, the sleeve the wrong way. So you learn all these troubleshooting tips and things that, okay, they don't have to teach you then when you're at work, because you learned them as a kid. You You figured them out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tremendously valuable pre-work experience. It's going to set you up for success later in life.
There you go. And so you incorporate this all in the book, try and teach some of these lessons in the book and in the books, I should say, to try and inspire young girls and see how the math, the science, the technology can be utilized and thereby give it better life. Because sometimes that was the problem I had with like math and algebra was you're like, when am I ever going to use this?
Well, and that's the other thing, because when stories change attitudes, but they're also, it's the next best thing to doing it yourself, because you're solving problems, you're triggering dopamine and serotonin releases. There's an emotional content. You're using both sides of your brain to process information, so it's encoded and stored more efficiently than just going to a math book and looking at, okay, this is the equation for a rectangular solid, the volume of a rectangular solid, now calculate a volume. It's like when you see it through story and you see a use for it, it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to follow the steps. I just want them to see that there's value for this.
Yeah.
So I'm setting them up for relevance in motivation, so that hopefully when they get that next hard class, it's like, I want to see the fun side of math. I want to master this because it's going to be my best friend.
Yeah. And I like how you've titled the books Inventor Adventures.
Yeah.
So it makes it fun. The covers of the book have got fun images on them and stuff like that. Did you do the illustrations as well?
I did the interior illustrations.
Okay.
So I figured Putney, her dream idol is Leonardo da Vinci. She wants to be an artist inventor.
Oh, really?
I figure I only have to draw as good as a 7th grader, and I'm sort of an amateur artist. I do have watercolors are my favorite medium, with acrylic being a close second. And I've got a set of watercolors up at our dog training club in the entrance. So
that's awesome, Sauce. And so people, I love this concept because, like I say, I had a hard time understanding, like, where are we ever going to use this math stuff? And, people would say stuff like, well, use it if you're an astronaut. You're just like, I'm not sure I'm a whole astronaut thing. And how do we get from there to here? But, you telling these stories and mapping them out and creating the adventures to be fun and interesting and engaging makes it enticing so that people can, I think I'm just doing a commercial here for you, makes it enticing so that, it can inspire the minds of these young readers and they can go, hey, maybe this is fun. Like you said earlier, sometimes you have a teacher that just doesn't, like my driving ed teacher. He was mean and nasty, and he said some really ugly things to everybody that most of you won't pass this class on the first day. So I showed him and didn't pass his class the first time. And so then I had to turn another 6 months of his class. And teachers can do that. Teachers can really, they can either change your life, like we talked about on the show, or they can really ruin your experience of certain things. And so it's great that you kind of have this as a teacher in these books.
That's my goal, is to get kids excited and have fun and have a fun adventure, and they learn a little something along the way.
Yeah.
And I try to break it down so that it's relevant and something that they can use.
There you go.
Or that they can see themselves doing. The solution I came up with for the sea turtles, totally within Putney's skill set, because she can sew and she had some of the materials I actually used in the invention.
There you go. So you try to test all the different things out there in the real world with your dogs.
I write. Yeah.
So what's your vision for this series? Are you going to keep going? You going to keep it expanding her adventures?
Well, I'm kind of at a pivot point here where I need to make a decision. So I'm trying to get more readers into my system before I go ahead with book 5. And right now, kind of on my heart is, okay, there's this nonfiction book I need to get out, which is about, I call it in my mind, How to Train Your Human, the training game, a problem-solving approach to learning. Because what I've learned is dog training, motivation, relevance, all of that's directly, when you train your dog, and I teach them a lot of cool tricks, they are learning a problem-solving approach. In fact, I just shot a short YouTube video I can get you the link to. It's like 5 minutes long, where I tried it on Mooney. It's like he learned the box trick. He figured it out in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And then we did a smaller box and he solved that one in under a minute 15. But it's the whole concept of problem solving and how to mentor somebody else's problem solving skills. Because as a facilitator, it's so easy to say, I want to help them to the solution. I want to lure him into the box. And so it's really hard to just reward incremental progress. And so this really short video is like, okay, at first I'm just rewarding him for looking at the box. Then he takes a step closer and puts his nose over the side. I reward that. Eventually he puts a foot in. Okay, he gets an extra treat for that. And he gets 2 feet. And then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I'm trying to up the criteria too fast. And he's like frustrated. It's like, ooh, it's like, okay, so I have to go back and reward earlier behavior. But as I said, within 2.5 minutes, he figured out to get all 4 feet in the box was the name of the game. So with dogs and kids, we're all problem solvers. The problem we as adults have is that our kids and our dogs are not solving the problems we want them to solve.
Yeah. I need mine to do my math for me. That's what I need.
We haven't motivated them to solve those problems.
I need them to also get jobs and start paying rent, damn it, and cleaning up around the house. I'm tired of vacuuming up all this fur. So, yeah. And if you figure out a way to train your dog to do that, let me know. They're never going to vacuum, though, because the vacuum is not enemy number one, evidently, according to Dog World. So,
for some, golden retrievers in particular aren't fun. And then there are a lot of cool tips and tricks for, how to, strengthen that problem solving muscle, like, breaking it down to small pieces, celebrating small wins, really making sure when you recognize it's your choice. You can choose to be the hero in your own story, or you can choose to be the victim. But if you choose to take action, the sky is virtually unlimited. So you can, if you choose to take responsibility and learn and figure out how to solve your problems or reach for your goals. Sometimes it's just a matter of breaking it down into small enough pieces that you can tackle. But once you start tackling that and you're getting yourself on this positive spiral, you're building motivation, you're building success, it helps you take the next step. And then if you can incorporate, things that bring you joy, so your hobbies, if you can work that in, then you're really on this really powerful spiral of success.
There you go. And it's something that everyone needs to learn about. I could have used more STEM help when I was in school, because I just didn't get the big picture. And like, people are like, you're going to use this someday, and of course no one uses algebra except just scientists and smart people.
I use it for sewing. So when I'm designing a quilt and I'm figuring out how much yardage I'm using, then I know, okay, this pattern I need, a fat quarter will make a 13 by 13 square. And okay, for my trim, if I take my perimeter, divide it by 40, okay, that gives me how many lengths, and I multiply it by 2.5, and that gives me the yardage I need for my binding. So all these simple little things, you can design your own stuff if you know how to use math.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to use somebody else's designs.
That's true. And yours are better.
It's more fun to do your own thing.
Yeah. I hated multiplication tables. I hated math when I was young. But then when I started my own companies, somebody had to do the accounting at the beginning because you don't have money to hire an accountant. And so I started doing it. And I started seeing the benefits of math and how important it was, because you gotta if you're making a profit or a loss, and you gotta know,
can I afford this?
Yep. And when you look at ROI, return on investment in your company, you got to know how much of a percentage this is and what it is. And it was kind of funny. I hated it in school, but somehow subconsciously it all inlaid. And I'm fairly good at multiplication. I can do a lot of stuff in my head if it's not too big a number.
The other thing is, just because you hated something in the past, don't tell yourself you're a failure at it forever, because I was always not confident with probability and statistics. The teachers always threw it in the last 2 weeks of the year. I never got good at it.
See, statistics are my favorite thing. I love statistics.
I love it now. I love it now.
Yeah.
And I love design of experiment. I learned all that. But I was taking extra classes when I was working on my PhD, and it was relevant because I was analyzing test data. So I needed it then, and because I had a use for it, and suddenly I was taking graduate courses that helped me to learn and design effective experiments and analyze the data I was getting. It was like so cool. But sometimes it's just a matter of having the right problem at the right time so that you're motivated, and then you get the right resources. So, just don't let yourself tell you that you are not good at something.
There you go.
You're not motivated to learn it yet. When you're motivated, you can do just about anything.
Yeah, just bite the. I always think of it when I need to learn something. Eat the apple, not the apple. Eat the elephant.
Mark Twain, eat the frog first thing in the morning.
Yeah, there's always that too. But I eat the elephant one bite at a time. So if you got something major, like you got to learn this math or whatever it is, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Take a bite, and just master it. Or you can just eat the frog in the morning. That sounds like a nasty ass breakfast to have, but it was Mark Twain.
Yeah, it's like if you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, nothing else worse will happen to you the rest of the day. And of course, he's not advocating eating a live frog, but it's like do the hardest thing first, because when you wake up, that's when you have your greatest mental energy and your decision-making energy. And as you get down, the end of the day, you're tired. It's like you don't have as much willpower. You can't muscle through the hard stuff as easily.
I just realized I actually do that Mark Twain stuff. The hardest part of my day is just waking up and getting out of bed.
5-second rule.
5-second rule. Get out of bed fast.
5-second rule. When you wake up, give yourself 5 minutes and get yourself out of bed. Do not hit snooze.
Yeah, don't do this.
Just get out of bed and act on it. And I had to do that to get book 1 finished.
There you go.
I was rewriting it. The first draft was so bad.
I don't really have an option. My problem is once my dogs figure out I'm awake, they get a treat when I'm making coffee. And so now I've screwed myself because basically as soon as I wake up, they're like, hey, Dad's awake. Dad's awake. And they start running around, jumping on the bed, look at my face. And I'm just like, and I've had to teach them. It's like, in the middle of the night, Dad's just getting up to pee. We're not getting up for the treat part. We're just he's getting up to pee. I'm coming back. We're not doing this whole thing. And sometimes they get confused at what's going on, but they've kind of learned. They know when the moment is Dad's waking up. I think it's probably because the Google alarm goes off that I use.
He has his own internal clock sometimes I can get him to sleep in a little bit more, but most of the time it's sort of like, I think it's time that Mom and Dad should be getting up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to get them up. My dogs hear that T word, the tree word. Oh boy, there's no end of going crazy once they get that. In fact, I have huskies, so they give me a lot of hell in the morning. They cuss me out if I don't get to the treat bag soon enough. And I'm trying to get the blood out of my eyes and figure out where I'm bleeding from. Give me a break. I'm 55. It all hurts. So yeah. So this has been really insightful and wonderful, and I'm glad you're expanding young ladies' options and giving them, different things that they can look at and encouraging people to get into STEM. We really try to get people into, find something you like in life. I think one of the biggest problems we have in our schools is we don't do what the English do, where you try and find what really works for people as a trade early on. Kind of what they're geared for. It's like we just kind of throw everything about them and we're like, you figure it out. Dissect frogs in biology, and here's some art and some history, and see what you like. Which is kind of, I suppose, a good way, but I would have rather done stuff that I liked in high school. In fact, I slept out of high school and actually did stuff I wanted to do in high school, which made it more enriching for me. So maybe there needs to be more of that.
Everybody's a little bit different, and I kind of feel like I pretty much like just about every class I took. So I was one of those kids that was, easy to learn, and I was lucky. I had a lot of good teachers. There were some things that were just like, okay, not even close. No way am I going to be, majoring in social studies and history, and so it was, for me, it was like, kind of art and math and science. And yeah, I liked writing too.
Yeah.
But I figured I didn't know enough to write something. I figured out I needed a lot of life experience before I try to start writing something. So now it's my kind of my second career.
There you go. And there's no end to what people can want to do, and that's the great journey of life. So thank you very much for sharing all this. We're going to look forward to the new books and all that good stuff. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
Okay, so my main website is putneydesigns.com. Putney Designs, which is both a noun and a verb. And I'm in the process of starting my own author website, which will be marciatuft.com.
Ah, there you go. marciatuft.com. There you go. And with 2 F's in the middle, I believe, right?
2 F's and a T. So a lot of people spell it wrong, or they want to put a vowel in the middle of that because they just can't handle 3 consonants together. But
they do that to me with Chris Voss. They do 2 S's on the Chris and 1 S on the Voss. And I'm like, I've been named Chris for 55 years, traveled this world. And I would notice if I ever bumped into another Chris that had 2 S's, but I have not. So I'm not sure where you people are coming up with that. It must be really just a bad case of dyslexism every time I see it. I'm just like, how did you get the 2 S's fucked up on that one? But there you go.
And I also have STEM experiments. So in the books, I try to keep the heavy lifting out of it. But in the back, I give you a link to my website where I have STEM experiments and more details for what you can do if you want to get into greater depth on some of the projects from the books.
There you go. And there'll be a link. There'll be 2 links on the Chris Voss Show page you can look for, where you have a link where people can get a free ebook they can claim through December 31st, 2023. I should put that because people watch these videos 10 years from now. And you can get her award-winning first book in the Inventor series, The Secret of the Magic iPad. And so if you click that link, you'll get that for free. Yes. And then also her Amazon page for her first book. There'll be a link there for that as one. And of course, as always, just remember that we got Christmas coming up, folks. So if you've got those young nieces, nephews, kids, cousins, you want to, it's hard to buy for kids, because you never know what they want. I don't know. I just give them credit.
Make great Christmas presents.
Great Christmas presents, and it's better than socks. Let me tell you, 'cause I got a lot of socks when I was a kid, and I love my aunt, and my grandmas, but give me a break already. No, they're wonderful people. So order them up for that. Give them away. Use them for Christmas gifts. A great thing to do. Support the cause for girls and STEM. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Marcia. Really appreciate it.
Was delighted to come. Thanks so much for inviting me, Chris.
And it was a delight to have you as well. We'll change some lives here and all that good stuff. And there you go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Order the books wherever fine books are sold. The Putney Hicks Inventor series, and starts with The Secret of the Magic iPad. You can see the box set on the internet and all that good stuff. So order it up. Go to goodreads.com, /Chris Voss, linkedin.com, /Chris Voss. See the big 103,000 group on LinkedIn. The big newsletter that's over there as well is really hot. And then go to Chris Voss, Facebook.com, Chris Voss 1 on TikTok, and there's something else I missed, and I don't care. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. We'll see you next time.